So what we just saw in the Eminence of Shadow, episode 7, is essentially Sid's 48 ways to die as a background character. Now, yes, Sid didn't actually die, but given the amount of blood that he was showing to the crowd, the amount of, I think, death blow poses, I mean, there's moments where his body not only bends in such an unnatural way that you hear his spine and potentially more ribs, bones snap in such a realistic way that watching with headphones, it was disgustingly beautiful. He then spins his body in such a way that I thought I was watching Beetlejuice from ReZero doing some crazy ass head tilts. And seriously, if you're in that crowd of what looks to be thousands of spectators, this looks like the craziest mofo on planet Earth. And his 48 ways to get defeated as a background character, but goddamn so close to death from their point of view, was glorious. Because what we have with episode 7 is essentially a setup episode, a slower episode, something to let the momentum build up so shit can really hit the fan next week, the week after. It doesn't quite matter, because as long as a setup or a slower episode is entertaining for the entire watch, it doesn't matter if you see crazy action or not, because you're gonna have a grin watching it every damn minute you are. Now, there's a full live reaction to today's episode available on the Patreon, of course, but let's talk about this one, because I really had a fun time with this. I mean, there's been so many shows I've watched over this past year, whether on my own time or even just there's moments that are slower in shows that I enjoy, that I don't have as much fun as I just did in this episode, because you essentially are at a point where Sid's life, for him anyway, he thinks he's really showcasing how much of a background character he's becoming, right? He's doing his best to make everyone think he's a background character, but in the shadows he does all this crazy shit that no one knows about as he plays pretend and dress up with his companions that he thinks completely in on the imagination. But I love the fact that we already have 4 or 5 different plot lines that have potential romance targeted towards him, and he doesn't see the most obvious of clues. A girl handing you cookies saying we can start out as friends is not her just saying we're starting out as friends. It's meaning she wants a bit more than that. The whole concept of a girl who lashed out at you and made a bodiless murder by cutting you so bad that there's just blood everywhere, no one can see a body. He doesn't see so many obvious clues, but what I love about an episode like this is you essentially have the most generic rom-com school episode ever, at least on paper, and from more or less everyone else's point of view. But because Sid is in the driver's seat, we get the stupidest, the most hilarious, and the most background force character ever. And truthfully, I wasn't sure what he was gonna do in the tournament, because he's like, oh, I'm gonna put my work here all to use. And I was like, okay, but he's all about pretending to be a background character, but then somehow that background bit ends up making him more of a main character syndrome without him realizing. And to see the generic, oh, you see him doing all these different training moves, and then he just gets annihilated because he throws something in his mouth to make it look like he explodes blood. And the fact that my poor referee, he still had over half of the moves less that he wanted to show, and the referee had to literally tackle him and carry him out on a stretcher because he felt so bad for the guy. Goddamn, no determination is worth giving your life over in this moment. And it was great. It was just constantly funny. And the fact that his 2 friends, who I am so glad they continue to be relevant, they have some Grand Blue level comedy half the time, but they're just gambling in the background. You hardly even focus in on them. The first couple of minutes we see of them, our boy ends up punching them both in the gut, and then he just does a casual ooh, that kind of hurt my hands. But they're like, damn, how the hell did he punch that hard? One of the great things about these characters is that they're generally hilarious. They're actually funny to follow, and they're the perfect friends for what is supposed to be a background character, right? Because they're useless. They end up betting, and apparently the surefire bet ends up pulling out of the tournament because of a zodiac horoscope and some bullshit like that. Or the fact that even after last week, when you had the one friend who basically is like, I'm going to learn from everyone else's mistake, I'm going to land the girl. We see him in the episode in the cast, his leg's broken, his arms are broken, they're not doing anything right. And then you have Sid just surrounding himself by these idiots because he thinks it's the perfect background disguise, as we see how he actually does get roped into more and more. And hell, they end the episode with him getting an actual death blow, at least from the character's points of view. We obviously know that he'll be fine, right? Unless the author wanted to do something hilarious and just say, you know what, we're gonna isekai the boy for a second time, and honestly, I'd be here for it, even though it'd piss off probably a large portion of the fan base, but I like it, because there's like so many things going on in the background. You have the fake clan here, the fake Shadow Garden coming in, breaking through the school. They basically are locking down magic, so Sid's actually at a disadvantage. Talented warriors are getting their swords broken because they're enhancing their own swords, so they're basically shit out of luck there. They tease you with a very cool looking knight character who looked pretty badass, if not terrifying, and honestly, I wouldn't say terrifying if we had magic, but now that that's been sealed off, it's going to be interesting to see where they take that. You get the whole like different female love interest plot lines going on, which usually can be pretty generic, but it works so well because they're targeting Sid of all characters. You have one who is trying to say, no, we broke up, we were never actually there. She literally has a picture behind her picture showing how much she cares. You have new love interest who's just doing her damnedest to be that cute, sweet cinnamon roll, as honestly, who knows where the father plotline's going. I saw a lot of speculation that what if the father's not actually sick? What if he's actually a big bad? Could be. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if that is the direction they go, but I could also see how easily it could just be a nice father. Like these types of shows, when you're taking the piss on so many different ideas that we've seen time and time again, either direction ends up working, so I'm not really too focused on which direction they're going to go there, because I know it's going to be great no matter what. And I think it's just fun to have a slice of life episode where it's just seeing our boy do the dumbest shit, the way he responds to serious things. Like one of the first scenes we see with one of his members is she's giving a debriefing. Yeah, like we destroyed his mind. He didn't give any information. And he's like, The emotionless responses, the grunts, the just sounds to get across his enthusiasm, or lack of, I should say, is great, because he truly thinks like these characters are playing along with his make-believe, and then just the way he gets roped into this, like, I'm going to be the best background character. No one's ever gonna surpass me, but secretly I'm doing this crazy shit no one will ever realize, when he's literally the most protagonist character in this cast, and he has no idea, and it's absolutely great. And I like how there's like these funny like visual jokes. Like I already mentioned the cast, which is easy to overlook in terms of what happened to the boy last week and why he got his bones broken, but there's so many little moments that, if you freeze frame, are just hilarious. Like he literally has his entire face bandaged up after the tournament, and he brings up a cup of tea and he like starts drinking it. Like there's no way he could drink it because literally his mouth is covered. They don't explain it, they don't bring it up, but if you focus in on those little moments, it is comedy gold, I have to admit. I mean, that's why I love this show. It can be a slower episode, it doesn't need to have crazy action, doesn't have to have a crazy plot twist. This show has a formula that is entertaining, and it wants to be entertaining at the bare minimum, and as we've seen over multiple episodes, it can go, I am atomic level crazy, and we're absolutely here for it. But I leave another episode, I liked it a lot. I would be perfectly fine if the next few episodes wanted to be more in this vein, where it's a little slower, a little more setup, get the momentum moving, so in the next core it can go absolutely balls to the walls. I'd be here for it, but maybe next week we'll kick off. Who knows? All I know is I'm having a great time watching this, and I'm sure I'm not alone. So thoughts and feelings, theories on where it might go next week. If you don't know that source material, of course, do let me know. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. Like I mentioned, you can also see my full live reaction to today's episode over on the Patreon, and by supporting, you can also get other things like video shoutouts, like if you were getting today. We got Jared Fan, Monsi7, and JJR10. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.